Hi again. Today I thought I would teach you how to make a coconut flour chocolate chip pound cake. If you're like me, you love pound cake. In our family, we love pound cake. And on What Keto, we were always looking for an option, trying to come up with a recipe. And our keto cream cheese pound cake made with almond flour was a direct hit, and it just, it went viral, and I was very humbled by that. But then I wanted to make coconut flour one, and then today I thought, well, I have a chocolate chip almond flour pound cake. Why not make one with coconut flour, right? So that's what we're gonna do today. And to do that, it's very simple. I have here a room temperature cream cheese. I love to use full fat cream cheese because why not? We're keto, right? And it, just so you know, the full fat is a little lower in carbs. Just a little hint there. Then a quarter cup of softened butter. I just like to leave it room temperature, let it just sit, and that makes it soft enough. And we start blending these two together. Then we're gonna add the sweetener. I'm using monk fruit, a granulated monk fruit, but you can use whatever sugar substitute you prefer. If you decide to use something like stevia based, I will tell you, you will have to use half the amount. Why? Because stevia is doubly sweet. And I mentioned all that in the blog or in our app. So you have all of that information for you, just so you know which is the best sweetener to use. But here I am just combining that. This is very similar to how you make a traditional pound cake. You usually blend the cream cheese and the butter and the sweetener together. And that's all we're doing here. While this is mixing up, I'm gonna add a splash of vanilla extract. Now I like to make my own vanilla extract, which is a big treat. There's just nothing like it. Maybe one of these days I'll add my recipe of how I make my vanilla extract. If it's something you want, let me know. Just share in the comments. I'm just gonna add a splash. I know I should measure it, but come on, it's vanilla extract. So I just add a little bit of a splash and let that just combine. Right now it's pretty mixed up, and they're just like trying to get it all emulsified here. While that is blending, then comes the eggs. In this recipe, we're using 4 eggs. It's almost ready for the eggs. Here we go. And I always use whole, large eggs for any of my baking recipes. And that's kind of the standard, really. In any baking site, you'll notice that they usually use the large eggs. It just allows you to have that the right consistency throughout all the recipes, just to know, hey, it's definitely whole large eggs. Let me just clean my hands here real quick. Once it's combined, which takes a little bit of a minute because of the large amount of eggs, and you'll notice that anytime you're doing a keto recipe that has a larger volume of eggs, it may not at this point, before you add any of the flour substitutes, you're gonna notice that it doesn't fully combine, but this is to be expected. But at this point, what I do is I'll stop it, and I'll just make sure to use my spatula and kind of scrape it up a little bit. But still, it's not fully combined. All of this is normal. Then I'm gonna go ahead and add the coconut flour. So I have the coconut flour already measured here. We're looking at 3/4 cups of coconut flour, the baking powder and salt. And then I'm just gonna give it a little mix here. And then I'm gonna gradually start adding that to the mixture. It already smells amazing thanks to the vanilla extract. If you notice, I didn't use a lot of sweetener. What I find is coconut flour based recipes tend to be already on the sweet side because coconut flour has a little bit of a sweetness. I know some people may think that the coconut flour based recipes, you're gonna taste a lot of coconut flour, that coconutty flavor, but I don't find that. And any other people who have tested my recipes or would come over for a treat or dinner, and I make them a dessert with coconut flour, they really don't taste it. And I think it's because of the other ingredients that I incorporate. But now it's all pretty much mixed in. Once this is mixed in, I'm gonna add another little secret ingredient, which is sour cream. I like adding sour cream because it adds a little extra moisture to this pound cake, even though it has cream cheese and it has the butter. I never want my coconut flour based recipes to be dry. And so I have found over the years that a little bit of sour cream goes a long way with coconut flour based recipes. And it's, it's just a science. The trial and error, all the years of making recipes for you guys, and this is something I've learned. Now today what I'm doing is I'm using sugar-free chocolate chips. These are mini chocolate chips. In a batter like this that is so thick, you really don't have to. You'll find the link to the brand that I'm using, but I know that even Lancanto now has chocolate chips. There's just so many brands out there that are starting to make their own chocolate chips, but finding a mini is a little bit more challenging. I just love the mini because I feel like it just incorporates so beautifully, and you don't have to worry about it settling to the bottom of the pan. So here we go. This is ready. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna give it a better stir to make sure everything is fully incorporated. If you have been doing keto and missing pound cake, a chocolate chip pound cake, and you're like, but everything that I see out there uses almond flour and I can't have almond flour, I got you today. See, the batter is nice and thick. And what I've done is I've lined the small loaf pan with a liner. I love these baking liners that are specific for this. And I mentioned that in the blog, and there's a link to that so you can see it. I get mine on Amazon. I find they usually come like this normally. And what I do is I flip it the opposite of how it's settled in. And that way it comes into the pan and it doesn't, the edges don't collapse into itself. You see? That's just another little trick. And then at that point, I'm ready to add the batter. So we're just gonna add the batter. And I love using the parchment paper loaves liners because, I mean, cleanup is a breeze. And so it just simplifies everything. And it almost gives it like that bakery look. It feels like, hey, did you buy this or did you make this, Hilda? No, I made it. I just took a little step in it. I used to do it with just regular parchment paper, and I would, I would grease the pan and I would add that the parchment paper with an overhang to make sure that it can get in there. But when I found these, I was like, this is a game changer. Why not? So at this point, as you can see, ready to go into the oven. Baking this at 350. Well, it's out of the oven. Our coconut flour chocolate chip pound cake, and it's been sitting on a baking rack for about 15 minutes or so. And now I'm gonna move it. And this is why I love this parchment paper. I'll transfer it to here. Then I'm able to peel it back. It just makes it easier to slice. As you can see, it has a nice golden brown. I like slicing it in a, because presentation also matters. And this wood platter, and I'll just slide her over. She wants to cooperate with me. I think it'll be easier just to, like so. There you go. Now, since she's been resting, she's ready to be sliced. And there you go. Beautiful, sliceable, nice and moist. I wish you could smell it. Now for the real test. Should we call Randy to come taste it? Hola. Hola. I got a nice treat for you.
Oh, wow. That was good.
This is the coconut flour version of the almond flour version that was well loved of our chocolate chip coconut flour pound cake. What you think?
Very good. 2 thumbs up.
There you go. 2 thumbs up. I think I'm gonna have the rest. So next time,
Stay fit to serve.